welcome to the Don't Judge, Just Love podcast. I'm Chase.
I'm Shannon.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all the things with no judgment.
Only love.
That's right.
Yeah.
Today's episode, we are going to talk about, relationships evolve and grow and change, right?
You didn't.
Did I not?
Well, you didn't finish your sentence. We're going to talk about what?
We're going to talk about how, we're going to talk about how relationships change, evolve, and grow.
Okay.
I feel like I was looking at Shannon's face and she was like, you're not saying this right.
I'm sorry.
But yeah,
it
so
just felt like you skipped
I did kind of skip a
word.
part. Sorry.
We're going to talk about our marriage.
Yes.
And specifically the aspect of kind of how it's evolved over the years. And we thought it would be interesting to kind of look at it from the perspective of like, what has evolved in a good way? Like things that we feel like have gotten better, that we do better with now than we did when we were, in our early years of marriage, versus things that like we maybe don't love the direction they've gone, and we're working on like reeling those back in and trying to make those better because they used to be better. And that's just reality, right? Like our podcast is all about keeping it real, talking about all the things. That's relationship reality. It just is. But the beautiful thing about relationships is that they are always evolving. There is always that opportunity to like recognize things that you want to change or do better, or, go back to how you used to do them because that worked better than how it's going now, that type of thing. And yeah, we're just going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it all. Right?
Yes, we are. So let's start first with maybe things that have changed and that we wish that we did a little bit more today.
Things that have changed
we used
for
to
the
do.
Worse, how it's gotten worse. Let's start with how our marriage has gotten worse.
Let's start with the worst, the good, bad, and the ugly.
It's fine, because I'd rather end on a good note.
So how do you feel like
I'm excited to hear what Chase is going to say right now.
Am I going first, or do you want to go first?
Tell me all the ways I've gotten worse, Chase.
You have not. Everything has gotten better.
That's right. That's what
no, so I feel like one of the things, and we were talking about this as we were prepping for this, but I feel like some of the ways that, or one of the ways that I feel like we have changed is I do feel like there is a slight edginess or moodiness.
We've gotten ornerier.
Ornerier?
We've just gotten
with each other
ornerier in our old age. Which, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
On the podcast before, that, like, Chase and I don't fight. We really don't get in fights. I mean, I think we can easily count on one hand how many actual fights we've gotten in. If really any. Yeah. Like, just never really, like, any big fights. But we do get ornery with each other. and I don't like it. I don't think either of us like that's been it's become a bit of a default, like way more so than we want it to be. And I'm sorry,
No, I think we're on the same page. I think that and that's something that we're trying to work on, to not be quite as moody and etchy. What I will say is that we're really good at calling each other out on it.
Yeah.
And we're really good at, and sorry, I don't want to get to the good part yet, but I think we've grown in that way that we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, and this is on our list of things that we've gotten better at. But to your point, we've gotten a lot better about like just
bouncing back
out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what is helping us to like move out of this like, this phase where we can quickly become just kind of irritable with each other. Is just like, I think our awareness about it is getting better.
Yeah.
Because we have drawn attention to it. We're like, hey, I've noticed this thing in our dynamic has kind of changed. Like our marital dynamic has moved to a place where I feel like we get ornery with each other like too quickly and too often, like way more than we used to and way more than I want it to be. And so we just had like a really open conversation about it. We both totally agreed. And so now it's a lot easier to be like, hey, we're doing it. We're doing the thing. Like snap out of it, and we'll address it exactly like that a lot of the time, like in the moment, in real time. And then we just try to like, it's not always easy and it doesn't always work, but we try to just honestly kind of like snap out of it in the moment, don't you think?
Yeah.
And just be like, yeah, sorry, my
I
bad.
think calling it out too has helped,
A ton.
right?
Yeah. So still a long way to go. And in our defense, I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to make myself feel better about this, but that seems kind of common, right? Like, I think when you first get married, I mean, for sure there's the honeymoon phase, and then your life just gets more complicated. You know, like you bring kids into the picture, you bring more serious financial obligations and more serious jobs and responsibilities, and like all of the stakes just kind of get higher.
More stressors.
Just more stressors, exactly. And so I don't think it's uncommon for that to happen, to where like it can just become easy to sort of take your stress out on each other. But that doesn't mean it has to be that way.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I like it or that I want it to be that way. So stop, Chase. Gosh.
I'm sorry. I will work on that.
Just kidding.
Let's start with one of yours.
That's one of mine. You're gonna love this one. Guys, when Chase and I were first married, and I'm trying to think of how long.
I think I know what she's gonna say.
Went on. Yeah, he knows what I'm gonna say because we have discussed this. I've whined to him about this several times. But it was the cutest thing. He used to wake up every morning. He would come and snuggle with me in the morning when he woke up, and he would apologize to me. Like every morning he would wake up apologizing to me about just like random things from the day before that weren't even like a big deal at all. He probably didn't even need to apologize, but he just every morning was like, I'm sorry, honey, for blah, 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 blah. And it was like so tender. And then he stopped. He stopped doing it. Does he wake up apologizing to me now? No. He doesn't.
Maybe I do less things that I have to apologize for.
It's not it. It's definitely not it.
Let the record show on the podcast that I did apologize, right? I said sorry on the podcast.
You said sorry in this podcast. I'm also sorry. See, now I've also said sorry on the podcast. There we go. But no, I've brought that up a few times. I almost like forgot that was a thing that he used to do. And then randomly I remembered and I was like, hey, remember when you used to wake up apologizing to me? And you'd like snuggle me and stuff. It's like, where'd that guy go?
So, yes.
Can you explain that one, Chase?
So
that guy went to the other side of the bed with kids in between.
So it's like harder to snuggle.
It definitely is. But I will say, maybe the apologizing thing is long gone. But I do make Chase every morning
come over and snuggle her.
Yeah, I'm like, hey,
before I get up.
Come give me a hug and give me some love. Don't just go walking out of this room.
Yes, that's right.
True.
Anything else?
So Chase is gonna work on that. That's what he was gonna say right there.
I'm gonna work on that. I will work on that.
Bring that back. Yeah. What else?
Anything else?
We've talked about this a little bit. We used to be better about weekly dates.
Oh, that's true.
We're trying to get back on that train for sure. Because we were like I was proud of us. We were religious about it for years, for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then COVID like totally screwed that up. And then we kind of never got back on the train.
Yeah.
Consistently.
We've done a pretty good job. I would say in the last like couple months, we've done better. We've done at least a date a month, maybe 2 dates a month. I don't know.
Yeah. At least one a month.
Yeah. But we're working on that to try to get back to once a week because we really like that. And
and it was good.
It was a great time
like a good
for just
reset,
us.
Like a good, to make sure that you're connecting and all of those things.
Opportunity for me to say sorry for things that I did.
Exactly. What else? Anything else?
That
we've gotten worse with. I'm sure there's a lot more, but
yeah, nothing else is coming to mind right now.
They'll come to us as we
yeah.
talk about what we've gotten better at.
So let's start with you again. So, or let's
start
go
with
back to you.
you.
Okay. Okay.
Jeez.
On things that have gotten better.
Yeah.
So we alluded to this in the first one, but I feel like we bounce back better
Yes.
from our moods.
Way better.
So while we might be more edgy at times with each other, I do feel like we bounce back a lot quicker and take less offense than we did when we were first married.
We've definitely become less sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing I feel like really early on in our marriage that we like openly discussed is that we were just sensitive. Like we could hurt each other's feelings pretty easily.
But we were pretty careful. I think we were careful about what we said because we didn't want to hurt the other's feelings.
Yeah.
And it's not that we want to
And
hurt each
now
other's
we just
feelings.
say whatever the heck
I didn't mean it like that. I knew that was like a
Swear
tee up to with that comment. But no, I think that now I think another one is, and you can agree with me on this or not, but I think that we have become better communicators. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I do think so. One thing I've always really liked about our marriage, Chase, is that I do feel like communication for us has happened pretty naturally. Like it's clicked naturally. I feel like that's one of the things that we really early on clicked on and what led us to like ending up together because the communication just clicked really easily. That said, there were certain things, certain topics that I feel like were tricky to talk about. And when they would come up, there would be a lot of feelings. They wouldn't be easy conversations. They'd usually end not great, with just like kind of, moods or bad vibes or whatever. Anyway, I feel like we are getting better at that. And again, because we just kind of addressed it, like we had this open conversation about like, because the one that comes to mind foremost is finances. We just always had a hard time talking about finances or like whenever we would, it would just be just kind of this like unsavory conversation. And we just talked about it and tried to really explore like, why is that? Why is that happening? Like, why do we feel like we can't talk about that without at least one of us or both of us getting in a mood or just kind of shutting down, And we try to be really honest with ourselves. I think we both kind of realized some things. I realized some things that I was bringing to those conversations that weren't great. Chase realized some things. Chase realized more things than I did.
Yeah.
But I'm just kidding. But yeah, it helped. What was the point there? That was really long.
Communication.
Yeah, it's gotten
and
better.
how we're better at communicating that.
It's gotten better.
And then also I think about like intimacy, like communicating.
The sex has gotten way better.
Oh my gosh. I'll just leave it at that. No.
But not like communicating about our
yes, exactly.
intimacy lives has become easier.
I think we've gotten much better at that.
Just
and
just say it now.
That's right. Less selfish. I feel like because when you first, at least in our relationship, right, when we first got married, we were both in college, and then even early on in our relationship, you start to have, like you said, like more responsibilities that have more weight and more stressors that come on. And so I feel like you're kind of put into this position where you can either try to hold on to, your things and try to be, I don't know, maintain your level of selfishness, or you can try to become more selfless. And I think as our relationship has grown and our love has grown and, we were fulfilled by, serving and helping and each other. I think that has helped us to become more selfless. And I think also having kids and the responsibilities and jobs that we have with all of those things, I think it's kind of pushed us into a place where you can choose again to be selfish, and maybe that draws you, pushes you apart, or you can choose to be selfless and it kind of brings you together and strengthens the relationship.
Agreed. To that point, I feel like we've also, as we've evolved in our marriage, I feel like we have found a good rhythm for how we divide and conquer. And, like going along with your point about being less selfish, um, it's just become, I think it's become less important to us, like who's doing what, or, kind of taking tabs
Tallies.
on who's doing what and how much each person is doing. And we've fallen into this good rhythm of like, here's where we can support each other and where the greatest need is. And we've seen the areas that we can specifically contribute to the most. And we've just kind of like embraced those roles or those tasks or whatever it may be. Like I feel like with the kids, I'm usually on Charlie duty. Chase is on Ava duty. I usually put Jack to bed. Chase totally manages almost exclusively everything related to dinner, like making dinner, doing the dishes. He just owns that. I manage all of the medical stuff for the girls. That's just almost entirely on me. But Chase manages all of our finances completely. I do all the stuff for the kids in terms of like school and extracurriculars and sports and everything, calendaring and signing Jack up for things, signing the girls up for things. But Chase is really supportive about like my work, and when there's, when I have deadlines or things that I need to shoot, he's always, he just steps in and takes care of the kids, lets me do my thing. Chase almost always does the nighttime feeds because it just works better for our schedules. And so he takes the last feed of the day, just stuff like that. And it just works really well. I feel like, and I guess my point is, early on in our marriage, and obviously we didn't have kids at that point, but I just remember there would be certain things where we would try to kind of like get each other to do things that just, I don't know. It feels easier now to just be like, it's okay that like, that's not like, that's going to be my thing and this is going to be his thing, and it works. And there's not like resentment about it because it feels also very even. Like it feels, I feel like it does, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it really is a divide and conquer, and it's kind of evenly balanced between the two of us. And we also, it feels like there's just this understanding that we're always there to support each other. And so if there is a scenario where we need to step in where we usually don't or whatever, you know what I mean? Like we're always game to do that, of course. But that's been really nice.
Anything else?
One thing I really appreciate about this is just this is the last thing I'll say. And I don't know. Maybe we'll cut this part out. I'm not sure. But I do feel like something that has been nice for us is that in a lot of the areas where we could have like easily, where it's not uncommon for couples to fight, like things it's not uncommon for them to fight over or about because they are just wired differently. You and I are wired the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like Chase and I are very much like the same level of messy. We're both like kind of messy as far as our day to day, but we both have a definite threshold where like it just gets to a point where then we're done and we cannot handle it anymore. And we'll like mad clean everything, make it like, really picked up and organized and clean. And then it just kind of will slowly, that's kind of our cycle, but it works for us. Like, I mean, do I wish our house was spick and span and super organized all the time? Sure. But like, right now, that cycle kind of works for us, and it's pretty rare that we're fighting over like messes and how messy things are, things like that. What else is like that? I feel like our love languages just are kind of the same.
Very similar.
Yeah, like the way that we like to spend time together is the same.
Every waking moment.
Yeah, You know it. No, but so that's my favorite thing about you.
And we're the same.
That we're the same.
in the most important ways, and different in ways that makes things
that are helpful.
Still interesting.
That are very helpful. That's it.
I think
that's all I got.
I think that's it for this episode. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Relationships evolve, change. We
just
all
hope that
evolve, change.
I don't know, maybe relatable.
Yeah.
Like, curious how y'all have evolved in your relationships and marriages, but it's normal. It just is what it is, and we're always working at it, right?
That's right.
Chase is
definitely something that is worth
really needs to work
the effort.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us on this episode, and we will talk to you next week. Take care.